Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks versus Jacksonville Jaguars Week 14 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some variation between various data points. However, there's always going to be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you are new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting out with this game between the Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks. When you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data, of course, it's just a general feel for how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and of course, how the special teams is doing. And when you look at all these particular factors, the Jaguars are favored in this game. And let's get into why. First off, when you look at the offensive side of the football, the Jaguars have it where it counts in a lot of different areas. The Jaguars have the better offensive score percentage, which just means that they're able to put points on the board more consistently than the Seahawks are. The Jaguars also have the better sack percentage. The only area where the Seahawks actually have more of an advantage is with turnover ratio, because the Seahawks don't allow as many turnovers compared to the Jaguars. But you do see the slight advantages for the Jaguars in all those sort of areas. And then, of course, when you get to defense, as I tell you guys every single week, the Jaguars' defense is amazing. They're killing it in almost every single aspect of the game. They have much better defensive offensive score percentage compared to the Seahawks defense, much better turnover ratio, much better sack percentage especially, and, of course, interception percentage. So the Jaguars' defense is just really, really, really dynamic. And because of that, you're always going to have a lot of potential to win games that maybe you shouldn't win when you have a defense like that. Now, when you get to special teams data, in this particular area, the punt return yardage, for example, favors the Jaguars. Kick return yardage favors the Seahawks. Defensive punt return yardage and defensive kick return yardage favors the Seahawks. Field goal percentage favors the Jaguars. Extra point percentage favors the Seahawks. And punting average favors the Seahawks as well. The most important special teams data point to pay attention to, as I tell you guys each and every single week, is field goal percentage. And that more so goes with the Jaguars. So that's definitely something to kind of consider, is that even though the Seahawks do have it in certain areas, the fact of the matter is that the Jaguars just have the better field goal percentage, which means that if it's a tight game and you need 3 points to win it, who's more likely to win this football game if it's tight? You know, what's the more likely result? Like, who's more likely to miss a field goal is the best way to explain it. And it's the Seahawks who are more likely to miss one. And because of that, that's why they're favored. So ultimately, when you look at all the macro data, the Jaguars have the better offense. The Jaguars obviously have the better defense. And special teams also kind of breaks for the Jaguars as well. So all three phases pretty much favor the Jaguars in that respect. Now when you get to some other sort of data points, so now we're getting into some micro data, down and distance data essentially in terms of other sort of data points. And in this particular area, we're going to look at completion percentage. Jaguars offense versus Seahawks defense. This particular area, the Seahawks defense is favored on first, second, and third down. So again, the Jaguars offense in terms of their passing offense is not very efficient, and I do think that the Seahawks could give them a lot of trouble, and that could be a deciding factor in this game. So I haven't really made a final judgment yet, but that's just something to keep in mind as evidence towards the Seahawks defense probably having a lot of success against the Jaguars offense because of how many struggles they have with completions. Then we get to the Seahawks offense versus the Jaguars defense. And in this particular area, the Jaguars are favored on first, second, and third down. So another example where the Jaguars might have a lot of success as well, stifling Russell Wilson in the passing O, which has not been that efficient. As you can clearly see, they've struggled on first down. They've struggled on third down in terms of the ability to convert first downs. So ultimately, I think the Jaguars will have a lot of success on defense as well when it comes to completion percentage. Then you get to rushing downs. So important to note when it comes to the first down conversion rate, it has nothing to do with yardage. It has nothing really to do with explosive plays. It only has to deal with the ability to create first downs with the run in various downs and distances. And when you look at this particular area, the Seahawks are favored on first, second, and third down. So the Seahawks run D could also have a lot of success in this game on top of their pass D. Which brings us to the Seahawks offense and the Jaguars defense when it comes to rushing downs. And as you can clearly see, the Jaguars will probably have success on first down. Third down is more of a toss-up, and then second down is also more of an uneven kind of setup there. But ultimately, I would say that it's pretty even in this particular aspect, and I'll be very interested in seeing what exactly happens here. Then, of course, we get to passing downs between the Jaguars offense and the Seahawks defense. This particular area, the Seahawks are favored on second and third down. So, again, the Seahawks will probably have some success, or a lot of success, messing with this Jaguars offense, which is worrisome in this game, to kind of think about. Then we get to the Seahawks offense versus the Jaguars defense, where the Jaguars have advantages on first, second, and third down. So again, another point to bring up, the Jaguars defense could have a lot of success in terms of stopping the pass in those various downs and distances. Then we get to sack rate, of course, between the Jaguars offense and the Seahawks defense. In this particular area, the Jaguars are favored on first and third down. So I don't really see a lot of sacks happening. I mean, there definitely is the potential. But the Jaguars have been pretty decent at preventing sacks on offense. Then we get to the Seahawks offense versus the Jaguars defense when it comes to sacks. And it should be pretty obvious by now that the Jaguars are very good at getting sacks on defense. So ultimately, I think when you look at the Seahawks offense, you look at all those breakdowns, I think the Jaguars will have success. Then you get to interception ratio between the Jaguars offense and the Seahawks defense. This particular area, I think, is a little bit more even between both these teams. And ultimately, I think it just kind of, I think it's going to stay that way. And then finally, you get to the Seahawks offense versus the Jaguars defense, where the Jaguars are favored on first and second down. So I do think there is a high likelihood that there could be some interceptions, could be some picks in this game due to those breakdowns and those certain downs and distances. So ultimately, final judgments on this game, who's going to win this game? I think it's really tough to kind of figure this one out because the one thing I know about the Jaguars is they're not a perfect football team. They do not have a perfect offense. They do have some breakdowns. This Seahawks defense does match up pretty dang well. Like they have a lot of areas, whether it's their running D or their passing D, to where they could give this Jaguars offense a lot of trouble. And because of that, this could easily be a Seahawks victory because of that. Because if the Seahawks are able to stifle the offense of the Jaguars, create a lot of turnovers, create a lot of havoc, then ultimately all Russell Wilson has to do is just stay alive long enough to put enough points on the board to win it ultimately. But that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Most of the data favors the Jaguars. Just to reiterate that, like, most of the macro data does favor them. I just have a bad feeling that despite all the macro data favoring the Jaguars, that the Seahawks defense will be able to come up pretty big in certain downs and distances and ultimately grind out a win here. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you believe is going to win this football game? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.